Dolly Girl, here's the music.
Okay, it's us. It's Action Activate. Hopefully you can hear us. It looks like on my end we can. If you can't, let us know in the chat. We're doing a take 2, take 3 here. This is Action Activate, the Power Rangers talk, chat, and whatever show. I am Gazbot Knight, and with me is...
The Dawg Defender.
Right. Now, my equalizer says that sound is pumping from our faces into the microphones, into the internet. But before we go any further, the Big Dog's going to check chat and see what's going on. Let's see. Never mind, I refreshed. Okay. I think hopefully it's working now. Everybody should be getting a stream. Everybody should be getting sound.
Please do the lightning bolt emoticon if you can hear us and are jazzed for the chat show today.
Yes. We're doing a little bit of a Q&A. We're going to start with news like we always do, and then we're going to jump into some stuff since there was no new episode of Beast Morphers this week, which is normally what the bulk of our show would be about. Sure. So is anybody saying anything in chat in regards to sound and technical things, and make sure that's all good?
Rubik N64 just confirmed through the lightning bolt that they can hear us. I'm assuming everybody else can as well. CP3 Blue, good to see you again.
Hello.
And same with Diane Glitter and Dolly Girl. Thank you guys so much for your patience.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Go ahead.
If you were wondering and saw before what we were talking about the different fighting games for Power Rangers right now, both the mobile, which is Legacy Wars, and the console version, which is soon to come out, called Battle for the Grid. Now, there were some recent releases of some more gameplay footage for Battle for the Grid, just a little cleaner, a little more fluid in terms of the combos that you can do with your secondary rangers and your main, things like that. I am cautiously optimistic with it. We'll see. I've been having a lot of fun with the mobile game, so it's kind of hard for me to want to get that just because I'm having so much fun with what I'm already invested in. But what are your thoughts, Gazbot?
Well, I'm less invested in the mobile game than you are. I have played it quite a bit, but lately I've sort of chilled out on it a little bit. And I tend to come in waves where I'll play it a lot for like a few weeks and then not play it all for a few weeks, which my my guild or whatever you call it probably doesn't love. But I got back into it the other day because last week you had told us about the Hyperforce Yellow free avatar that we could get, and I got that, but he's so low level compared to my other guys, I can't really use him that much. But you mentioned that Ecliptor is coming out. You mentioned this before when there was no sound, and we're both big fans of him, and so that I'll definitely jump in for that event. And so it's not my main phone game, but I definitely jump in and out of it. As far as the Battle for the Grid, which is releasing tomorrow on Switch, I don't have a Switch, so that doesn't matter for me, but for anybody that has it, can start right away. Everything else, oh, hey, Ruben, thanks. Rubik N64. Sorry, you said that name before. Thank you very much for the follow. For anybody else on other platforms, it's coming soon, but I don't know that they've actually announced a date other than for Switch, which is tomorrow, Tuesday. I know it's less than a regular game. I believe it's retailing for $30. Is that what they're going for?
I don't know. I thought it was going to be 60, but I haven't checked in a long time.
If it's 60, I'm not playing it. I mean, maybe if it goes on sale, but having the same basic graphics as the phone game, I understand it'll have better mechanics. But if it's 20 or $30, I'm more likely to jump on it. But what worries me is that they only have like 9 or so characters to start in 3 Megazords, and if you can unlock them or over time they release them, that's great. But if we have to start paying for every character, that's going to annoy me. So I'm reserving judgment on that. I imagine you're going to jump in before I am, and maybe I could just see what you say.
Yeah, I was going to say, worst case, we can have me try it out. And one thing in regards to what you're saying about the possible DLC, I think every once in a while I err on just buying it digitally. Sometimes you get a little bit better sale, but for this specifically, just because we don't know, I think it might actually be better to do a physical copy. That way, if me or whoever else decides partway through, I'm just going to stick with the mobile, then at least you get a little bit back on it.
Yeah, I see in chat. I can't read the name because I don't have my chatbot up, but somebody is saying that also it's going to be on Xbox One tomorrow, which is correct. I forgot to mention that. I apologize. So
Rubik
Switch and Xbox One. Yep. Oh, it is Rubik. Okay. Yeah. Personally, I have a PS4 and PC, so it's still no good for me. But yeah, if you have Xbox One, then get a jump on it if you're interested. The other news we were talking about, or just started to talk about, is the new the potential new movie based on the 2017 reboot. The new news I heard that is very interesting is they're saying it's still likely there's going to be a new movie, but now it might not be a sequel because the original one, there it is right there on the screen, was done through Lionsgate. Now we all know
Hmm.
Hasbro bought everything from Saban, and we didn't know if they'd do another movie or whatever. But Hasbro apparently unofficially, they didn't make like an announcement, but people are like saying, well, we know this happened like because of certain disclosures and things. They had a meeting with Paramount about a potential new movie for Power Rangers.
Mm,
So if they go with Paramount, it's extremely unlikely they would continue what was set up at Lionsgate. It's not impossible, but Lionsgate kind of built that universe and had that infrastructure. So to go to a whole nother studio, that would indicate that they're not looking to continue along what they've already done. So why would they? It makes
yeah.
it seem like they're going to start something new, which I wouldn't mind. I didn't hate the last movie, but if they went in a totally new direction, I'd be okay with that too.
I think, and I said this, we've discussed it offline a little bit.
Hmm.
I think that the movie that came out 2 years ago gets better if there's a direct sequel. It did
Yes.
so much world building and kind of showing their origin that for it to stand on its own, I think is a little unfortunate because they took that extra effort to do it. Whereas if they were to do a reboot, my only real hope is that they do it similar to Spider-Man: Homecoming, where it's like, cool, we know what Power Rangers are. Let's just jump into it.
I agree. Well, I agree on both counts. That I felt that while I didn't love the last movie, it was good enough, and I was looking forward to a sequel. It's kind of how I felt about the last Godzilla movie. And now it
Mm-hmm.
looks like the sequel is going to be better. But I wouldn't mind if, like, yeah, if they don't need to give us a whole origin and they're just like, hey, we're the Power Rangers, let's go,
Yep.
because, yeah, like I said, I didn't love it, and so I would be happy with a new movie either way. But I kind of prefer that they do a soft reboot and assume we know the origin at this point, just move forward.
Yeah.
And so, real quick, the slideshow I have in the middle here, this is just, I tried to grab a shot or two of every season, including the movies and stuff. There's no significance other than we're talking about everything Rangers all day today. Normally, this would be a slideshow of the current episode of Beast Morphers.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, above me here, I primarily am an artist. Well, I am an artist, but primarily most stuff I put online is art. But this is a specific Power Rangers talk show. Usually, I will have a recording of a new Power Ranger headshot up here. But since, again, it's sort of an off week, I just have a slideshow of a ton of Power Ranger headshots I've done that I sell as prints and stuff. Like, for example, I'm going to be at Power Morphicon Express in Texas in like 2 or 3 weeks, and I will have all of these and more for sale there. If you're in Texas, come say hi. Go to Power Morphicon. I mean, you don't have to say hi to me if you just like Power Rangers. Go do that, but I will be there. So, but yeah, as far as
Taking,
sorry, God.
oh, sorry. I was gonna say, taking a look at chat.
Mm-hmm.
Rubik N64 said he is not, or she has not seen the reboot. I recommend it. I think it's on Netflix right now. It's worth a
Mm-hmm.
watch just to kind of see, and especially with the Ranger hiatus this week, I would recommend it. And then
Agreed.
Dolly Girl said she wants to meet Geki. Geki was
Oh yeah,
he
we've
was a
both
hoot.
met Geki. He's the
Yep.
actor Yuta Mochizuki, I think is how you say his name. Knows English not extremely well, but well enough to be making jokes and be quite a character.
Hmm.
uh,
CP3 Blue said, "Would you want there to be a story mode in the game? If you're talking
absolutely,
about Battle for the Grid, yes. I
absolutely.
think if they did kind of their own interpretation of Shattered Grid, I think that would be really awesome, especially because Lord Draken's in it.
Yep.
And I know, I don't know if you played it, Gaz, but Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 did something like that, where it did a rough kind of reinterpretation of Civil War, but
Okay.
including some more characters that weren't in it initially.
I don't.
And I think that would be cool.
Yeah, I don't think if you made it not mandatory, because I would like it, but I can see some people being annoyed by it. If it was a thing
Hmm.
that you could just play it as a fighting game and nothing else, that's fine. There was
Hmm.
a Naruto fighting game, Ultimate Ninja Storm, one of those, and it might be similar to what you're saying, but it was like you could just play the fighting game, but if you played through the story, you kind of got the retelling of the anime, and you could unlock things. You could unlock different skins, different characters and stuff. So
Hmm.
that maybe they could do it where if you play through the story, you could unlock everything without paying any money. But if you just
That
want the
would be cool.
characters, you pay a buck or two, and you like that. I think that's a good way where they can make their money. But if you're willing to put in the time, you don't have to.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's a happy medium. It's on a Hulu also. Yep. I
Yeah,
think there you go. You got even more options for the movie
it's
now.
definitely it's definitely worth watching. It's good. I think it's good, not great. It's worth watching, and
Yeah.
it's also worth watching just if you're in the fandom when people talk about it, whether you like it, hate it, somewhere between. You'll have an opinion, and you'll be able to back it up and know how you feel about it. Really.
Hmm.
Um, I have an online question. This was through my Gazbot Facebook page. I asked if anybody wanted to ask a question. And Ernest, I won't say the last name because I don't know if they want him to say the last name, but Ernest said, what is your favorite episode and why? What makes it your favorite over all others? And I got to be honest, this question is not an easy question for me. Uh, I don't know if you have an easy go-to, but I don't know if I've ever thought of that question before. I
I
think
have.
you have. Okay,
I have, yeah. So I'll kind of get the ball rolling on it. So
sure.
for me, there's obviously great episodes from various seasons.
Right.
Um, One thing I love, not only in Power Rangers but in most things, is team ups. So some of my favorite episodes of Power Rangers as a whole are some of the team up episodes. But my go-to that like I don't know how many times I had that feeling watching Power Rangers was Forever Red. That's
Mm,
probably my
right.
knee-jerk reaction of my go-to favorite.
Right.
It was in season Wild Force. I
Right.
highly recommend that one to people, even just jumping in new. It has enough kind of recalls of previous
Really?
seasons where it's relevant. Well, for me, that was the last. Well, that was the last Fox era, Saban era
It's
Power
not,
Ranger
the
series.
jumping in new is the comment that surprised me because if you'd never seen Power Rangers, you're gonna jump in and watch the 10-year reunion Red special. You think that's gonna have the same
No,
impact?
I mean the full season if you were to
Oh,
watch
of
it.
Wild Force.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I think if you did the buildup of like, oh, I haven't watched Power Rangers in a while, let me see this. And then you get there and you're like, I recognize some of these people. And then kind of go from there.
Fair enough. Let me just hit chat real quick. I got managed to get Twitch up on my other one. C, CP3 Blue says, "What about the new Tommy in the new Tommy in the movie? They did set up at the end. I mean,
Hmm.
spoilers. It's not a big plot point, but they did set up that maybe Tommy was going to show up. But they didn't show the
Hmm.
actor or actress. We didn't know who it was going to be. I
Hmm.
imagine whether if it's a sequel, a direct sequel, they will have Tommy in it for sure. If it's
Yep.
a sort of a reboot, I think they're still gonna have Tommy in it because Tommy wasn't in the last one. And Hasbro seems to be doing fan service. Hasbro seems to be like,
Hmm.
this is what people want. And I know there's a lot of Tommy hate out there, but the character of Tommy is probably the most popular character from the franchise of all time,
Yep.
and people want to see it. So I think it would be strange if any version of the movie that came out next didn't have some version of Tommy.
Hmm.
Also in the chat, um, uh, Rubik N64, Zio was somewhat decent. Myself, I think, I guess they just watched the season of Zio. I also thought
Hmm.
Zio was decent. Zio was
Yeah.
another classic. I feel like most people like Zio second best. Well, we'll get into what people like. Zio, I think Zio is generally well liked. Would you agree with
Yes.
that? Okay.
Agreed. I think it had the kind of initial shortcomings of seeing what worked consistently and what kind of gets old after a while of
Right.
trying to repeat old tropes. And I think also to you being a big Bulk and Skull fan, that's where we started to see the
Yes.
evolution of them when they're like, we need to have these characters evolve and they can't just be the same
That's funny
kind
you
of.
said that because I was thinking how like that for me that season is very mixed because I'm not a huge fan of the villains, but like
Hmm.
there's a really awesome episode where Bulk and Skull go to like another I forget if there's another planet or another dimension and they actually have a fight
I
scene
think
with the
both, yeah.
cogs and like I love that scene. So yeah, it's got highs and lows. Overall pretty good though.
Hmm.
Let's see what else. Dolly Girl said Geki and Goshi back in 1983 are her Super Sentai crushes. There are others, but they're at the top. Hey, that's classic. Why not?
Hmm.
Rubik N64. If anyone is interested, I hear that Tubi TV has a couple Super Sentai. Is Tubi is that like sort of like Shout Factory? Like it's legit, but it streams. I've kind of heard of it, but I wasn't sure if it was a
Hmm.
subscription, if it was free, or if it was like not really legal. So I'm not endorsing that until I know because I don't want to endorse anything that's gonna get people in trouble or give them viruses or anything. But feel free
Hmm.
to do your own research on that.
True.
Um, what else? CP3 Blue. Would you want Jason David Frank to come back as Tommy in the movie? Is he say you would like to come back as a Ranger in the movie? I don't. Okay, look, I love Jason David Frank. I'm not one of the haters, but I
Hmm.
don't think he should come back as Tommy in the movie. If we have a whole
Correct.
new change of team of Rangers, no. If he came back as a mentor or a cameo or even as some other character, that's cool. I like old actors
Hmm.
coming back to do other stuff, but I think in the show when he comes, like, because they just had that Ninja Steel episode where he came back as Dr. Oliver and he was
Hmm.
the correct age for the continuity and stuff. That was fine. That was great. Him
Yep.
being Tommy, like with a team of young people and another like that makes no sense to me. I don't want to see that. Not I don't want to see more Tommy. Not I don't want to see more Jason David Frank. But I don't think the new young Tommy should be Jason David Frank.
Agreed.
Um,
I
good.
do like him being involved in some point. I know
Yeah.
he has talked about his interest in being in the movies in
Hmm.
any capacity, really, just keeping the brand
Well, he
going.
he did have
And
a small cameo in the first one too, in the crowd scene.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but yeah.
Oh, sorry. Why is that a spoiler? We try not to do spoilers. I didn't think that was. Yeah.
No, it's fine. I just wasn't doing it because I know
Yeah.
um, it was a little surprising. But
I
either
was
way, like just full transparency for the rest of this episode, we're gonna do our best to not spoil like major
right.
things, but depending on where the topics go, we inevitably may reveal more than uh,
Yes.
some may want. So just letting you guys know. But we're on the other side too, where I mean, there's multiple seasons that Gaz is watching right now that
Yeah.
I've had to bite my tongue a few times. So we always want to
Yeah.
keep the suspense going for those who haven't seen stuff yet.
True. Let me get back to chat real quick. We got a lot of people chatting in there. Um, Rubicon. Oh yeah, Rubik N64 says yeah, it is. It's free. So according to
Mhm.
Rubik, Tubi is free and legit. So if you trust
Sweet.
Rubik, check it out. Oh, I'm getting a little echo. Do you hear that?
A little bit.
All right. Hopefully it'll just clear itself up. Dolly Girl says Shout Factory for the win. Yeah, Shout Factory often has streaming stuff, and of course they sell the
Mhm.
DVDs, so that's also a good place. Um,
Yeah.
so I think we've caught up on chat and we've hit all the news. We sort of segued into topics and Q&A, and that's fine. This is just a big
Mhm.
mishmash this episode, whatever people want to do.
Yep.
Well, you seem like you were going in a direction a second ago. Do you want to follow that thread?
So the initial question from Ernest was, "What's your favorite episode?"
Yes.
And I kind of went with my knee jerk one, and then I guess the unofficial part B of the question is is there a season that isn't from kind of the Tommy era, I guess we'll say for lack of a better term, that I would recommend for people to jump into that harkens back to Power Rangers as a whole, but is fresh enough you can just kind of watch it on its own. So
Okay, we don't answer that question.
I'm
Be-
not. I already kind of did, but go for
Okay,
it.
well, I realized that I never answered Ernest's question at all.
That's what I was gonna say. So
Okay.
you have to do yours.
Yeah. And I was supposed to be using this time to be thinking about it but I got involved in other stuff. So I haven't given this a lot of thought. I have favorite seasons. I have favorite characters, even
Hmm.
villains. I don't know that I've ever had the thought, what is my favorite episode? So here's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna throw out a favorite episode unofficially. This is like a weird kind of come to my head, and it's gonna be very
Asterisk.
controversial. Yeah, this
Yep.
this if I had time to think and look through it, this would not be my favorite,
Okay.
and this will be very controversial. It's one of the like I think it's like episode 5 or 6 of Samurai.
Oh jeez.
I know. Everyone's like, what the burn him down. But here's why. I'm not recommending it to other people, but it's the episode where Antonio comes in, the Gold Ranger from Samurai, who
Oh
is one
yeah.
of my favorite characters. Now, here's why. In that season, whether you love it or hate it, it is one of the better episodes. And he shows up and he does this awesome like kind of flash move with the sword and everything blows up and So again, a little bit of spoilers. He comes in with this awesome move, but he's a Six Ranger. They always do that. And then he had
Hmm.
this goofy sense of humor. I liked the way he looked. I liked everything about the character. So whatever you say about the season or not season, like I enjoy that character, and I don't even hate the season like a lot of people do. But
Yeah.
I recognize it's not a very popular season, and I'm not telling people to watch it. Aside from everything I just said, a bigger reason why I like it is because I watched some Mighty Morphin and a little bit of Zeo and Turbo when I was younger and kind of
Hmm.
fell off and didn't get back into Power Rangers for years. And when I started getting back into it, it was with Samurai. That was the first new season I had watched in a
Hmm.
really long time. And that episode was my favorite episode up to that point because this became my favorite character of this season. So again, if I look at them objectively, it would absolutely not be my favorite episode. But my gut, like, what episode can I even think of that stands out other than
Hmm.
a team up episode like what you said? Because I thought of the recent Ninja Steel episode was a lot of fun.
Hmm.
And also that one, the sentimentality's in it too, because you and me got together and watched it live, which we normally
Yeah,
don't do.
that was cool.
So that
Yeah.
made it really fun too. But the first one I thought of was the introduction of Antonio as the Gold Ranger in Samurai because of the sentimentality and because it led to the next couple of years of me getting back into it and doing the art and everything else.
Hmm.
So it's again big asterisks, but that is sort of my answer there.
Okay. And then kind of the unofficial part B of the question,
Mhm.
what season would you have somebody jump into if
Right.
they were in a similar boat as you?
Well, you were saying Wild Force is that's yours that you recommend?
Um, that's what I would recommend chronologically if it's not a Tommy or Zordon era season.
Before I answer that question, let me check in with chat real quick. Ruben N64, it's kind of surprising that Disney now owns the two Power Rangers 20th Century Fox. Yeah, that is
Oh, that is
yeah,
kind of funny.
that is funny. But I mean, I guess that maybe that's why they're getting released now because they weren't available for a little while, and now all of a sudden they're really easy to get, or they will be if they're
On Blu-ray, yeah.
yeah. And then Weenforce. I'm sorry, I
I
don't know
think
how to
it's
pronounce it.
Will Enforce.
Oh, Will
I'm
and
not sure.
Force. Good. It's really small on my other screen. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Only a few more hours till battle for the grid. Pretty excited for it. Nice. Yeah.
Hmm.
This hopefully this will get you charged up to power on. So go back to what season would I recommend? Well, no. The full disclosure. I have not seen every episode of Power Rangers. I have seen all but five all the way through, and the two I've not seen all the way through are Ninja Storm. I'm not done with it. And Operation Overdrive. I'm not done with it. The three
Hmm.
I've not seen at all are Mystic Force, SPD, and if you can believe it, Dino Thunder. So I went back and started going in order. So that's why I have everything up to this. So with that caveat, those are ones I can't recommend because I haven't seen them. It's unfortunate because I would want to recommend like Super Mega Force. I don't.
Hmm.
I don't think that's a good season to recommend,
Yeah, it's not.
but it should be because it has all the Rangers from all the seasons. It brings it
On
back
paper, it should be.
on
I
paper.
agree.
Yeah. And this it's tough because I kind of want to recommend Jungle Fury because that's one of my favorites, but I don't think
Okay.
it's real indicative of like an average Power Ranger season. Similarly, RPM I think is a terrible first season because it's much more of a good season if you know the tropes and it kind of makes fun of them.
Hmm. What
So,
I will
yeah,
say, oh, sorry.
yeah.
Tying into what you're saying, chat actually is around the similar era. So there's a lot of things in chat. CP3 Blue asks, "What is your favorite Disney era?"
Mm.
And then Rubik N64 said he wishes the Disney era never existed.
Oh,
To answer your question, Mystic Force is part of the Disney era. So
yeah.
halfway through Wild Force, Disney bought Power Rangers from Saban, and then it went all the way until RPM. Saban bought the rights back, which is known as the Neo Saban era, and then from Nickelodeon onward, pretty much was that. So Samurai was the start of the Neo Saban era. So
Well,
we're at,
technically they rebroadcast Mighty Morphin with some new graphics.
sure. Oh,
Yeah.
that's what we're truly not talking about. Ugh, it makes
Yeah.
me cringe just thinking about it. But what I will say is, actually, Gaz will agree with this as well. Some of our favorite seasons were during the Disney era,
Yeah,
oddly enough.
the Disney era gets a lot of hate, and I wonder why. I mean, I know like there's a lot of love for the early Saban stuff, but
Hmm.
some of those seasons were like really well produced, and
Hmm.
especially with a lot of the Neo Saban stuff, everyone was so happy Saban got it back, and then almost universally, it was not received well. Some seasons better than others, but most people think Neo
Hmm.
Saban is not that good, and I would agree. I think Disney was better than Neo Saban on balance.
As a whole, looking
Mm.
back, I agree with you. I think the biggest problem Neo Saban did was trying to make the super seasons a thing and not giving up when they should have on that trope specifically.
Mm. Rubik, Disney was Wild Force on. Yeah, correct. Yeah, Wild Force was kind of the bridge one, the way Beast Morphers
Hmm.
is the bridge between Saban and Hasbro.
Correct.
So I still haven't answered the question. um, yeah, in space, because I keep thinking of good seasons that I'm like, would
Yep.
they be a good first season? I don't know. Um,
Jungle Fury, I mean, is pretty decent for that too.
I think Jungle Fury, you don't have to know anything, and you could just jump in, and it's a good, fun season. But
Exactly.
does it? It's kind of like I'm a Doctor Who fan as well, and a lot of people recommend a certain episode of Doctor Who called Blink as a good one to get people into it. And Blink is a great episode, and I'm not going to spoil things about Doctor Who, but it's
Yeah.
like watching that episode does not give you a good idea of what Doctor Who is like as a whole. And I feel like
Hmm.
that's what Jungle Fury is. It's a great season that I like and I would recommend it in general, but I don't know it's a good place to start because you could like that season and you might not like Power Rangers. So I'm gonna you know what? All the ones here's the thing. All of kind of my favorite seasons are the non-traditional. Because like Time Force is really good too, but that's also another
That's a
kind of
good
a
season.
but it's
Yep.
again a kind of a weird one. So I'm trying to okay, you know what? This is gonna be a weird pick. And again, I didn't give this a lot of thought. You know, all of these questions, if I had time to like sit down and analyze and put charts up, and I'm gonna go
Hmm.
with Lightspeed Rescue.
Okay.
Here's why. It is after most of the Saban continuity, so you don't have to know anything that came before, but it still
Hmm.
feels like it's part of that era. It still feels like classic Power Rangers, and
Hmm.
it's very much focused on we're a hero team, and it just feels as much like classic Rangers as you can without being part of that continuity where you need to know stuff. So I'm gonna
Hmm.
go with Lightspeed Rescue.
Okay. And it has the first American Ranger in it.
That is an awesome point. That's not why I'm picking it, but that is a fun, yeah. The Titanium Ranger,
Yeah.
the first American only Ranger.
Yeah. The one thing I love about that is I didn't know until years later that that was American only.
Oh, okay.
It fits so well, and I looked. I'm like, that makes perfect sense. He is just so cool. He's my favorite Ranger, arguably at this time as a child. And then I'm
Right.
like, oh, they made him up, and he looks cool, and everything makes sense. It's great.
Yeah, it's yes, and we've met him, Rhett Fisher. He's a nice guy too,
He's
so
awesome. He
that
was
makes
really
it even
cool.
better.
If you have a chance to. Taking a look back at chat,
Yes, sir.
Disney was Wild Force. Oh, my first Sentai I finished was Magic Rangers, so
Mm.
watch Mystic Force irks me. Ooh, yeah, I didn't love Mystic Force, so I am with you, Dolly Girl. I
I
haven't seen Magic Ranger, but I love a lot of the aesthetics of Mystic Force, but the story itself, I didn't finish 100% just because it was not my favorite season.
I have no opinion. I like the toys. I like the toys. I think they came out with
Yeah.
some cool toys.
Korag is one of the cooler designs we've ever seen on a Ranger.
You see the one that looks like kind of like a Wolf Knight looking guy?
Yep.
Yeah, he looks
And,
awesome.
and
I
he's
don't know anything
purple.
about
Yep.
him, but he looks awesome.
Yeah, just super cool.
Diane
Uh,
Glitter, I can't see what that is. Say a little cheer emote, so thank you for that.
Woohoo!
Rubik N64, fun fact: the oops. I think that was a mistake. Okay, I hear the
Yep.
U.S. originally was supposed to get Jetman instead of Zoo Ranger. Yeah, I've heard that
Correct.
too. That is
Yes.
correct. And I
So
guess,
what?
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say
Oh wait,
story
are we
time.
going to the Bigdawg knowledge zone? Let's go.
We might be.
Okay,
All
here you
right,
go.
knowledge zone time. So, with Jetman specifically, um, Haim Saban saw Jetman. I forget the circumstance where he saw it, but he saw it and went, "Wow, this is really cool. I could make a bunch of money on this if I kind of made an amalgamation of Japanese footage, American actors, and American footage, and sell it to kids." He did a pilot, I believe, or just did concepts. He at least did concepts. He may have done a pilot, not confirmed, so only partial knowledge. For Jetman, and the only star I know who was in it was Mark Dacascos, who is a '90s action star. He's going to be in John Wick 3. Looking forward to that. And then he's also on, I believe, American Iron Chef as one of the hosts. Was to be the Red Ranger, and then another cast for the rest of the five. And he had pitched it, and overall, it got turned down by a couple different studios. And then Heim came back, looked, and dinosaurs were popular in the '90s, so looked at Zoo Ranger and did the same thing, and then it got picked up from there. And after a few changes since the pilot, we got Mighty Morphin Power Rangers as we know it today.
Boom, and that was the Bigdawg knowledge zone. All right, that was well said. Thank you for that.
Well,
And
thank you.
looks like Dolly Girl is saying, I like the family dynamic that the Magic Rangers had, not the way they gained the powers and Mystic, blah, 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 blah. I believe in magic. I don't want to get too much into it because it might be spoiler territory, so I'm going to not read that. But the family dynamic, it seems like, is what she likes, which, funny enough,
Mm-hmm.
they had a family dynamic in Lightspeed Rescue, too. I didn't think about that.
Correct. Yeah, that
Uh,
is good.
Airzuki downstairs, hype, 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 hype.
Hype, 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 hype.
And a whole bunch of chugs and an OK and some cats and everything. CP3 Blue, Dino Thunder was my favorite. It was a classic, real story about Jason David Frank being the Black Ranger. Well, you could read the rest of that. I don't want to get
I
too
really
into
wasn't.
one of the favorites, but I don't.
Okay. So apparently, and this is news to me,
Mhm.
Austin St. John was supposed to be the Black Ranger,
Oh, I
according
didn't
to
know that.
CP3 Blue, but he didn't pick up his phone,
Oh,
and
wow.
Jason David Frank got it. So that's kind
That
of cool.
that is kind of cool. I've heard Jason David Frank talk about Dino Thunder, not in a mean way, but as he kind of didn't want to come back, but he sort of did it as a friend, as a favor for a friend who was working on the show. Like, hey, buddy,
Hmm.
come on, come back. We need the ratings up. And
Yeah.
so I guess Austin St. John was going to get it, and then yeah, it's interesting. I wonder because I mean Jason David Frank would still be super popular because he had still already been like 4 Rangers, but I
Yeah.
wonder if Austin St. John would have then maybe done another two, and instead of one of them having like 5 and one having 2, maybe it'd be
Hmm.
like 4 and 4, and they'd be kind of equally,
Roughly.
yeah.
I The thing about it is I think because of the way Austin St. John has kind of had his career kind of navigate through his life, I don't know if we'd have the same popularity for Power Rangers now
Hmm.
if that were to happen, kind of in a what if universe, because whether people love or hate Jason David Frank, he has propelled the brand significantly over the last 10 years.
Yeah, he has kept the fires burning for sure.
He has helped in the last two major anniversary crossovers, The initial one I was talking about for Forever Red, he was a very big part of, and
Right.
I think also he, in terms of the con circuit, keeps the brand alive with kind of bringing it to non-traditional settings. I would say usually when I would think of Comic Cons, I wouldn't always think of Power Rangers, and now
Right.
the more
He kind of
cons
he
that we
kind of
have going around.
normalized it that you sort of expect to see a Power Ranger or two at any convention you
Mhm.
go to.
I think he kind of helped beg the question of who here hasn't seen Power Rangers? Oh, all of you? All right, then let's keep talking about it. And then, like you said, normalized it, and I'm happy for it because we have this show today because of it.
Absolutely. Yes. Although it would have been cool to see Elsa St. John do another Ranger at some point. Who knows? Maybe in the future.
We could see. I know in a previous episode we talked about how Ninja Storm original concepts for
Hexagon.
Hexagon
Yeah.
was supposed to be JDF versus Austin St. John and different
Which
factions
would
of
have been
Rangers,
so
which would have
good,
been.
especially knowing what we know about the behind the scenes politics of those two not really getting along. I feel like the
Mhm.
acting would have been amazing because they'd be like kind of really angry at each other.
Yeah. I,
Airzuki's excited for the Bigdawg Knowledge Zone. That's an old one. And Airzuki doing some fart emotes.
Part.
um, all right, so I think we've caught up with chat and we answered the question properly. We had a couple topics in here. And feel free to throw out more questions, by the way, while we're going.
Mhm.
Um, well, we kind of did your question. I have a question that we could
Okay,
discuss. We have the
sure.
lightning. This is kind of the common question that we always, you and me will debate about and talk about, and everybody does. So the lightning line, the 6-inch, high-end line that the figure should be shipping very soon. And we
Yep.
know that in addition to the 4 they've already released, there's going to be Beast Morphers Red, and
Hmm.
they announced the other ones too, which I'm blanking on now. Is it Magna Defender? No.
I think Mighty Morphin Pink was
Yes,
one
Mighty
of
Morphin
them
Pink.
originally, and
Yeah.
then
Well, we'll come back to it. The
yeah.
point is, they always have like, what would you like to see? Now,
Hmm.
we could do 3 Ranger figures or whatever, villain figures. We could talk about those, but I'm interested in what non-Ranger figures we'd like to see. Because you figure if it does well, we'll get every Ranger eventually. And they've
Yeah.
established that they're going to do villains because they did Zed, and the Goldar is going to be an exclusive coming out. So at least the major
Hmm.
villains are going to be coming out. So we could talk about that, but they may do no civilians. Or they may only
Hmm.
do a handful as exclusives or whatever. So assuming they're only going to make like, let's say 3, what would you
Hmm.
want to see?
For non-rangers and or civilians.
Non-Rangers non-Rangers, non-villains.
Okay. One thing I just thought of that they kind of already do in the Marvel Legends line
Hmm.
is if you put out initially um, either single carded or 2 packs of Rangers that have matching uniforms and just put in the different heads for them, I think that would be cool.
What do you mean? Say that like so it'd be a 2-pack.
So you could do a single card or a 2 pack, pretty much a male and a female.
Mhm.
And let's say Time Force, for example.
Right.
You get a male body and you get red, green, blue, and possibly Quantum's heads in there.
It
And
would
then
be
you,
a
yeah,
civilian body or like a spandex body?
it would be in their like Time Force jumpsuit.
Oh, I see what you mean. So it would be a
Hmm.
civilian outfit, like so it wouldn't work for like Mighty Morphin where they had actual clothing, but a
Correct.
season like in Space or Time Force where they had a jumpsuit, it would be
Hmm.
one civilian. Wow, that'd be weird though because it'd be good if you have one favorite, but if not, you still have to buy 5 or 6 of that figure.
But it puts in the added thing where it appeases both collectors. Like, look at Marvel Legends, how it is now in army building. If
Right.
you were to get some kind of generic X-Men suit and
Mhm.
it had Nightcrawler's head on one, you could also get Wolverine's head or whatever, then you can get as many as you want. Or in some cases, like I know you and I have debated this before,
Right.
where you're like, I don't care about all these, I just want this one.
Right.
You could get it and just put Trip's head on there and be totally fine. Or you could buy 3 or 4 different ones and then mix and match however you'd like.
Here's something to consider though, is that the way they seem to be going is all the Rangers come with a civilian head already. Like all the Rangers they've
True.
released. So you're thinking it from a Marvel universe where you don't always get a Peter Parker head or whatever, in which
True.
case it makes more sense. But it could be potentially that, yeah, they release a Time Force body with all these heads, but we already have all those heads, or it's maybe a new sculpt of the head or whatever.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, now I have to change that because you put it in perspective a little bit better. Well, while I'm thinking, why don't you give your take?
While you're thinking, I'm gonna see chat. CP3 Blue says, "Do you know another story about Dino Thunder 05? Rangers and Dino Thunder was posted fused together and make one Ranger. The name would be Phantom Ranger. I did not hear about that.
Oh,
Like
okay. I
Phantom
know what
Ranger
you're talking
from
about.
Turbo?
No,
No.
different. So what they're talking about is for the toy, they did essentially a Build-A-Ranger for the Dino Thunder toy line. And it was an amalgamation of the Rangers that was never on the show, but when you put it together, they called it the Phantom Ranger in the toy line, but really it wasn't like the one from Turbo that you're thinking. And it made this like weird kind of fused Dino Thunder Super Ranger
Hmm.
that was meant to be a gimmick to sell more toys, but I didn't hear if it was supposed to be on the show. I wouldn't be shocked if that was the case, but I know that it was kind of, I don't want to see bad looking. I'm neutral on it personally, but it was something kind of very different than we were used to from what we saw from the Dino Thunder suits at the time.
Yeah, it's interesting. I having not seen the season, I didn't know anything about that, but that's some interesting trivia. So thanks for
It's
sharing.
specifically for the toys, yeah.
Right. Okay, so you're rethinking your answer on the civilian figures. I mean, Bulk and Skull are the obvious go-tos right
Yep.
there. And even within that, you could have the standard ones, and then maybe like a Comic-Con exclusive in their like superhero outfits or whatever.
Hmm.
So I'll say that, but it's almost like saying, "Oh, who's your favorite Ranger, Tommy?" It's almost like a non-answer, you know.
Yeah.
So I would love a Dr. K from RPM. I think that would be
That'd be
cool.
cool.
I would like. I would, well, yeah. See, I'm thinking of civilian versions of figures, like
Yeah.
which you kind of threw me off because then I'm like, oh well, like Kendra from Dino Charge, like they'll probably do a purple or violet, whatever her color is, Ranger, but her
Hmm.
like Dr. K, like in the lab coat as like a mentor figure, but
Hmm.
she is a Ranger, so I guess I was thinking of non-Rangers specifically, like Bulk Skull, like Dr. K, um, maybe like from Wild Force, the princess, secondary characters like that. Um, but
So,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, what I was going to say, I don't have an answer to this question still definitively, but I'm going to say incredibly selfishly,
Yeah.
I'd rather them not think about that at all and give me two extra Rangers a wave to complete it faster.
Well, I think you're right. I don't think they're going to, not for a while. But I am
Yeah.
thinking that that is the sort of thing that could be exclusives because it's not
Um,
something you need, but is like a fun little bonus if you can get to that convention or that store or whatever.
I could see them doing a full Zordon tube.
I expect that, but I didn't say that because I don't think it'll be a figure. I think that'll be like a $30 like play set or vehicle. Like it'll be in a box differently.
I could see it being like put together, like if it's the big Zordon head that
Yeah.
you have to kind of do like a build a figure for the tube,
Well,
like
they're
it'd
not
be an
doing
assembled build a
Build-A-Figures.
figure. No, I'm
Yeah.
what I'm saying is build a figure in the sense of like more grand than what we're
Yes.
used to,
I
but just pre-assembled.
I would like that. I think it would not be a regular figure, is what I'm saying. I think that would be like a $30, $40 thing where maybe it comes with like one panel of the console or something. Maybe you package it with an alpha and charge 40. I'm totally down with that. I'd rather
Ooh.
have it come that way than be a build a figure because I like that there's no build a figure. And it's funny
Hmm.
because usually my complaint about the build a figure is I don't want this whole wave. So
Hmm.
far, I want all of them because I want all the. It's not like Star Wars or Marvel where there's this like
Yeah.
infinite universe that you will never collect them all and there's infinite versions of all of them. It's like
Yeah.
theoretically you can get every Ranger at some point and be done. And so I'm more likely to want to get them all. And I
Hmm.
like that we have the alternate head. I like the alternate hands, the accessories. I'd rather have all of that than a build a figure piece. And then just say,
Agreed.
hey, $40 if you want Zordon. Fine, I'll pay $40 for Zordon. Not a problem.
All right. I have an answer to your question.
Okay.
Um, so I would like them to do the robot-based side characters first.
Oh.
So I would see Alpha 5,
Yep.
Alpha 6.
Yep.
Um, I heard there's possibly a new Alpha um, number, not sure, from the comics, which more comic-based characters I would like as well.
Sure.
I'm totally blanking on the name, but who is the owl from Time Force?
Uh, Circuit.
Circuit. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I
I
would
would
like
like
a
Circuit.
circuit. Circuit would be cool.
So I'll do those two, just because the alphas you could do variation stuff. Like a history of alpha pack would be kind of cool.
Yeah,
And
that would be cool.
I thought of one that doesn't really count, but if they did 6-inch Marvel Legends style Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation. I would buy every
Uh,
single one.
I would rather take the ones that Nika made recently from the old movies and use those with the Rangers because those are better suits.
But you don't get a Venus de Milo.
Yeah, that's fine. Let me check chat real quick. Let's see. Sorry, we back up a little bit. Arizuki says Gazbot knowledge zone. I don't know what knowledge I was dropping, but okay.
All of it.
Okay, Dolly Girl says I was watching Go Kaijers and was drawn to the pink butterfly cape. That's why I was drawn to Madra. Oh, okay, that's cool. Well, this goes back to what I was saying about why Super Mega Force should be a good jumping on point for Power Rangers because it could get people into other seasons. But I'm reluctant to recommend it. Dolly and Arizuki saying hello to each other, and CP3 Blue. Here's another one about RPM that was supposed to be 3 Rangers because of the budget cuts. They couldn't have it on the show. It's a habit for toys: Crimson Blue, Crimson Red, and Crimson White. Oh, that's what those other toys were. Yeah. In RPM.
I think it was the dinosaur-based Rangers, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah, I remember seeing those figures, but they were never on the show.
I have one of them. It's really cool.
Yeah, and that happens a lot where something that is in the show doesn't get a toy or a toy doesn't get in the show. And sometimes it's because budget reasons or a script was changed. And sometimes it's just like, hey, we need another motorcycle to sell, even though it wasn't in the show, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Every once in a while, though, with the RPM case, I actually really like those suits, arguably more than some already on the show.
Wow.
Like, I think I told you I think it's the T-Rex one or a Triceratops one or something, where it's almost like I don't know, it's like an old-timey button-up jacket, kind of
Yeah.
like what...
I thought they all had the button-up jackets.
No, just
Okay.
these 3 new Rangers did, and I love the silver and the red with it. It was awesome.
Yeah, they
I
do
really
look
liked
cool.
it.
More chat. Rubik N64. There was a power chamber playset that was released ages ago. Yeah, back in the 90s there was one, and then more recently with Imagine X, like a play school kind of version of one. But again, I would like to see a new, to fit the new aesthetic of a more serious, like for adult collectors, really. Dolly Girl and Arizuki, blah, blah, blah. And then they're just talking to each other and having fun. Arizuki, yep. Okay, cool. So everybody's having fun in chat. And let's see. So I think that more or less answers the civilian question. We could go on and on, but we kind of gave our top picks. You had some themes in here that I wrote down, but if you got one in your head that you want to throw out as a topic, go for it.
I guess what I would say is I know you and I collect various Power Ranger toys from various seasons, years, whatever. What is your favorite Megazord you have, and what is your favorite Ranger or Ranger team of figures that you currently have?
Well, you'll tell me if this answer counts. My favorite Megazord is not a Megazord. It's Serpentera, the vintage Serpentera.
That still counts. That's a Megazord.
Okay, so that is it. It's one of the ones where I've gotten a lot of the re-releases, like the Solo Chogokin and the Legacy line. If they came out with him, I'd have to look at it and be tempted to get it. But I like the vintage one so much. He's big. He's got chrome. He's great.
He's so cool.
I love him. I love him so much that when I am at a flea market or something and I see one for sale, I'm like, oh, I got to get that. Even though I've had one for years, I still want it. So this is, again, very visceral. I'm not defending it as the best design ever. I'm not saying it's the most powerful or the coolest one in the show. But, like, when I look at my shelf, I look at him a lot. And if I ever think, boy, I need some money, I got to sell some, or anytime I have, like, what would go, he would be one of the last ones I'd ever get rid of. Because he's just so cool. And I'm a big Godzilla fan, too. So that part of it's like double dipping, It's got the monster and the Power Ranger. So that's my favorite, Megazord, if you will.
Yeah. No, it still counts.
Okay. All right. What about you?
For Zord, it's funny. So I was actually doing some cleaning yesterday, going through all my old Ranger toys in preparation for the show today, and I found out that I had 3 Megazords pretty much built, and I just didn't know it. So I built. These aren't my top picks, by the way.
Right.
I have a full Time Force Megazord, which I didn't know I had. I almost have a full Solar Zord from Mystic Force.
Right.
And then I had 3 pretty much or complete Samurai Zords, which I also didn't know. And and I almost have the second Turbo Megazord. I'm only missing pink.
Now, this is because you've bought in a box of toys or a random one here or there and didn't realize you had assembled enough to build the Megazords. Is that what it is?
Yep, that is. I was putting them to the side, and I'm like, oh, I don't have this. And then I looked, and I'm like, the pile to get rid of. I'm like, Oh, that's a full Time Force Megazord. Whoop! Switch it. But for me, I have a really strong nostalgia to the original
Right.
Mighty Morphin Megazord. But honestly, similar to you, one of my favorite like vintage Zords I got as an adult, and was actually thanks to you, you picked it up for me, was Pyramidas.
Right. It's so
I
big.
didn't have that as a kid, and he's so daunting because I loved the Zeo Red, the Super Puncher,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I played with that all the time as a kid. And the fact that you just put him on top with his Gatling guns, oh, I love it.
That's pretty
So
good.
that's what I would say for that. And then back to you for the team or individual Rangers.
It's tough because there are some teams that maybe I'd rather have, but the figures haven't come out or they're not good or whatever, you know. So
Hmm.
I'm not. I guess I'm going to try to think about it as toys, not necessarily my favorite team, but just like what versions I have. And I'm looking around my room because I have some Japanese vinyls up here, and I have
Hmm.
some SH figure arts, and hmm. I really this is gonna sound weird. Well, that's not even Power Rangers, so never mind about that one. Because yeah, the SH figures I won't get into.
Were you gonna say Kiba Ranger?
No, there's a Tokuger figure up there. I'm not gonna do any Super Sentai. Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
my okay, this might be cheating. Like one of my favorite. Okay, you tell me if this counts.
Okay.
I have a large key collection for Gokaiger slash Megaforce, and
Okay.
and it has just about every character from every team. And so I love that it's represented that way. And actually, let me turn my camera. If you get motion sick, look away. I'm gonna do kind of an awkward turn. Maybe you could see. Do you see that on my wall right there? Those are clear displays for nail polish that Bruno from MMPR Toys recommended, and I got some morphers
Mhm.
underneath. But those are the Japanese keys. I also have the American, and that's I have at least one key from every team represented. So does
Mhm.
that count? Because if it does, that's my answer.
It can. I was thinking more posable, but that can be your answer if you want it to
Well,
be.
no, it's your question. I'll go with posable. With posable, you answer while I think.
Okay. So mine, I thought about it, and I'm gonna cheat and say that there's two that are tied for different reasons. I always wanted Psycho Rangers as a kid.
Mm.
And the fact that we finally got them and they're so posable, and I still have blue ready to be posed next to me, I love these so much. The only thing I'm bummed about is that yellow and pink were not released, so I'm going to have to
Right.
get customs of those.
Customs. Yeah.
But those recently, I just love them to death. They're so great. It was in, if I had to make one, like top action figures I got last year, Psycho Red would be just super high up there.
Right.
So I would say that
That's so
for
funny it
those,
came up
and
as you said that.
I know. And then in terms of the vintage stuff, I actually really like my Jungle Fury figures. I ended up with the full team of that, and between Daishi
Hmm.
and the Purple Ranger, I just love those figures. They're
Yeah,
so cool and hold
I
up
agree.
so well.
I agree. The Jungle Fury are very good, and so are the RPM. Like that era, they had
Hmm.
like a really good build. Um,
Hmm.
I'm I'll give my new answer, which is it's odd because it's not a complete team, but and it's not even a favorite season of mine. I'm just going with like visceral figures. I'm gonna say
Hmm.
Turbo, which again is a crazy thing. But
Uh,
I don't have it on, but I love Blue Centurion, and I have a
hmm.
great figure of him where he comes with the motorcycle with chrome on it. And
Yeah.
similarly, I have this right here. I got a Justin, this chromy blue figure that came with his Jeep, and I have the red version that came with the car. And so, like, just those three together, the two chrome turbo figures with
Hmm.
the Blue Centurion on his motorcycle. I'm a sucker for chrome, so
Yeah.
like those three together. Again, when I think about what I'd have to get rid of or what I'd keep or whatever, those come to mind as some of
Hmm.
my favorites.
That scale for pretty much in space
Yeah,
behind are awesome. And the fact that you can get them for each season technically is great. The regular American Turbo figures are terrible, and I wouldn't recommend them to your
I
worst
agree.
enemy.
That's why I'm making a point of saying, look at this. Even the non-chrome ones you can get, they're better proportion. They have a little slot for the gun.
Yeah,
The other ones are just that crazy buff by even Power Ranger standards, just like
yeah,
inflated crazy.
they're just ridiculously terrible.
I'm gonna take a look. We got some chat we've missed out on
Yeah,
here.
let's get in there.
All right, so we got Dolly Girl. Oh wait, I missed. Okay, blah blah blah. Blah. Oh, she liked your question. And then
Hmm.
CP3 Blue,
Thank you.
would you like to have a Beast Demon Hunter in Lightspeed Rescue? He was in the Japan version, but never in the American version because he was only in the movie in the Japanese version.
Oh, is that the one that we watched? The Go-Go 5
We
movie?
watched the Go-Go 5. Was it like sort of a gold character?
If it's the gold one,
then yes. I would also say yes.
Gaz showed that to me, and right after, actually not even after, during the movie, I'm like, "There's a figure of that, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be. There's got to be a figure somewhere." And
if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
because both of us have not seen that season, just that movie, ironically. Or maybe there's more than one movie, though. So you'll have to clarify if that's who you're talking about. And we'll move on to some more chat while you're getting ready to answer. CP3 Blue, he was the Six Ranger. Oh, so that makes me think it is the gold one. Rubik N64, cool. I used to have the original MMPR Megazord, but got rid of it due to moving to a new house. I had to downsize. Oh, that stinks. But, maybe you could get the Legacy one for cheap, or maybe they'll put out another one. There's also...
what I will say for that, you have 3 options currently, depending on kind of 3 stages. 1, you could probably track down a vintage one in decent shape for a reasonable price.
Especially because they re-released it a few times.
2, you can get the Imagine X one that's non-transforming, that's super imposing and great, and I highly recommend, which you could also probably find cheap. 3, you could get the Sola Chogokin, because it's arguably the best one. Gaz has it, I don't, unfortunately. And the Legacy Zord is so inflated right now in price, you may as well get the die-cast one that's chromed out.
I'm going to see if I can get my camera over. Yeah, okay, I'm going to switch to a one-shot here, so it's going to get a little shaky cam. This is the display case I have next to my thing. Oh, and you know what? You can't see it. I can't reach. If you look... right there, that's the edge of the SoC. But all right, yeah.
I haven't seen that case in a while.
Yeah, I just updated it, upgraded it, whatever it is. I put some lights in and I kind of reorganized it. Sorry, I can't give you a better shot. I wasn't really prepared.
I'm just jealous of your Shogun Zord.
Oh, well, the Shogun's, going back to favorite Megazords, that is one of my favorite designs, and that is one of my favorite figures, and that's the Legacy one. Although I think the vintage one is good, too. The Shogun Zord I always thought was really, really cool.
No, sorry, that's the Thunder Megazord.
Thunder Megazord, yes. I know. I always say it because he
Shogun Zord, though, ooh, I love that Megazord.
But the Shogun Zord looks like a building come to life. The Thunder Megazord looks like a samurai. And while the Shogun Zord is cool, I prefer a samurai to a building.
Looking back at the chat... yes.
It is the gold one.
What happened if Tommy was the blue? Ooh, that wouldn't happen. I think if Tommy was still on the Turbo team, he wouldn't have been blue, and they would have done it differently.
Agreed.
Actually, I think what they probably would have done, and this would have been a super pain in the butt for using the Mega Ranger footage, is they probably would have made him silver.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, but I'm glad we didn't have to deal with that because people would want Tommy to be the leader. We really know the leader would be TJ, who would be blue, and then Andros would have to be third best leader in space, which would have been awkward.
I agree. Oh man. So I think did we answer that question? We answered all the chat. It's a little
with
after
the toys we did, yeah.
All right, so we've been going for about an hour. I don't want to go too much longer. Let me check the topics we had talked about. If anybody in chat has another question or a topic you'd like us to hit on before we get to the end here, throw it out. Otherwise, I'm going to look here. One of the questions you had that will be more for us than, well, it could be good for everybody, but we've actually had the good fortune of meeting a lot of Ranger actors. You had said, what Ranger actor would we most want to meet at an upcoming convention? And again, you and I have both met a lot of actors, so it's weird because like previous favorites, I wouldn't say like David Delatorre, who played RJ, would be high on my list, but I've met him, so he's no longer high on my list. So everybody has their favorites. Maybe in chat people could throw out some that they'd like to meet. But
Dolly Girl kind of kicked it off with her Zoo Ranger actors that she wants to meet.
Although I wonder, Dolly Girl I know was at Power Morphicon last year, and I think they were there. So I wonder if she didn't get a chance to meet them, or she just wants to meet them again.
I think 2 years ago they were all there.
Oh, so last year they weren't there?
Last year, I think 1 or 2. I think just Red and Pink were there.
That's Geki. Red is Geki.
I know, but she had mentioned
Goshi
was black.
Yeah, he was there 2 years. Okay. You're right. Okay, so there you go. Well, let's see. Same one. So did you have an answer for that? What Ranger or Rangers would you like to meet?
Yeah. So I have a very strong affinity for the original person to wear the suit right here.
Also, same time.
I love Jason as a kid. Here's the thing, though. The more that I hear about him in my adult life of the possible drama, the actual drama, whatever, I'm so worried that if I meet him, I'm building it up too high, and then I'm disappointed.
I don't think you need to worry. Well, okay. I understand what you're saying. Like, you meet your
Yeah.
heroes, but um, I have not met him personally, but I've
Hmm.
seen video of people meeting him. I've heard stories, both him and Jason David Frank. There was the
Hmm.
drama. My understanding is the drama was between the two of them, not between them and anyone else, not between them and their fans.
Hmm.
And I've heard mostly good things about both of them. And if one of them was more likely to cause a problem with a fan, and I'm not saying he would, I would
Yeah,
think it would be Jason David Frank because he's at so many more conventions. There's more of an opportunity for that to happen.
maybe.
But I haven't heard any bad stories about Austin St. John, and I've seen, like, again, a lot of. I'm surprised you're worried about that,
I've gone through the rabbit holes of the internet, and
and you
there
found things
were
about.
there were other non like just stories about him in general, not necessarily at conventions or anything.
Hmm.
I know one for a while that I wanted was Christopher Kamen Lee, and then the more that time goes on, the more I'm just kind of, I'm okay, because I loved Andros.
Right. So basically, you named two. One that you've had an opportunity to meet and didn't. No, both you've had opportunities to meet and didn't.
Ooh, okay, I take it back. I
Okay.
know who I'm 100% excited to meet, and I know it will be a great time as Yoshi Sudarso.
Oh, you've never met him.
I've not.
Oh, okay. That is a good one.
Yeah.
I I've I haven't really met him. I've spoken with him. I've seen him. I haven't gotten a picture. I haven't had a real conversation, but I have given him a headshot that I did of him, and he's sort of said thanks. And so I've had a tiny positive interaction with him, but not had a real meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But so he's your number one that you want to meet, and you feel like you would not be afraid to meet, basically.
Yes, and I would,
Okay.
if given the opportunity, talk to him about random other non-Ranger
Because
things.
he's such a
Uh,
nerd and fanboy.
well, I would talk to him more about his training in L.A. with some of the different
Oh, right.
organizations down there. Because I talked to Peter Sudarso at the last Power Morph Con, and that was one thing I talked to him about to try to break the ice of like, hey, I know you're on Power Rangers and I like you on that, but what
Right.
about this other stuff that you're doing? He's like, oh, okay, and then it kind of made it a little bit easier for me to talk to him, and then he asked me, oh, do you want to get a picture? Which I was crazy excited about, and
Yes.
is currently in the slideshow.
um, Dolly Girl said, just the young Green Ranger, I think you mean White Ranger, was there. Oh, no, he was green and white, wasn't he? He was the young Green Ranger that then became
The regular White
the
Ranger.
regular White Ranger. Yes, he was
Mm,
there, and you're right. And I guess I thought there were some other Sentai actors, but okay. So what I
yeah.
will say to you, Dolly Girl, is Goshi is going to be hard, but the actor and actress that played May and Geki as like a duo have been making the rounds. They were at Ranger
Hmm.
Stop. They're going to be at Power Morphicon Express in Texas.
Yeah.
I don't know where you could get to or when, but they've been in America more than any others. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if they have friends here or what's working out, but the two of them have been touring around somewhat regularly. So Goshi might be hard, but I think you got a really good chance of meeting Geki again if you put your mind to it.
Hmm.
And let me see, CP3 Blue. What about Andrew's sister? When Andrew came to save her, she was wearing a spacer and it was purple. Do you think she'd have been a purple ranger?
Oh yeah, he's talking about Andros from
Oh,
In
Andrew.
Space.
Oh,
Yes, so that's actually
Astronema.
one. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, in one of the episodes, they did allude to her possibly being a Purple Ranger, and I remember as a kid, I had some weird Dr. Seuss book where it was like fill in things you want. And it's like toy you wish for, and I remember just watching that episode. I'm like, oh, In Space Purple Ranger, and then it never happened. I still have that book somewhere buried in like
I
an attic,
I
but
never noticed that, but I did like when she came back as a ranger eventually. I don't want to spoil
mhm.
it, but I liked the payoff to that. Let's put it
Yeah,
that way.
I agree.
Let's see, Dolly Girl. In terms of Zoo Rangers, I missed them at Ranger Stop. Didn't have the days off. I'm going to meet for sure one of these days. Yeah, like I said,
Mhm.
those two at least you have a good chance. What was the question we were talking about? I
Who you would want to
Oh,
meet
who you'd want to meet?
actor wise?
Okay, so you said Yoshi. Again, I've met a lot of my favorites, so I'm trying to think
Mhm.
who have I not met that I would like to. I guess. Uh,
I know who you're gonna say.
do you?
Yeah,
Okay, well I'll say and then and maybe there's
I'll
another.
confirm or deny.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna actually go two, which might be unfair. And I don't know the actors' names off the top of my head, but Dylan and Ziggy from RPM.
Not who I was gonna say, but
Okay.
okay.
Well, part of it is that I've never seen them at a show ever. So
Hmm.
it's one of those things where like, wow, I'm not gonna waste my wish on someone that maybe is at a show that I could go to, but that's far away. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know that I've ever seen them. So if I was making a wish, so who were you thinking?
I thought you were gonna say Paul, whose last name I forget how to pronounce. because I don't think you've done
Bulk?
like a
You mean Bulk?
legit.
Like Paul
Yeah,
Shearer? Oh, I want to meet him for sure. Well,
yeah.
I actually have met him. I've talked.
I didn't know if you did or not.
I've never had like a meet and greet, get a photo autograph thing. But
Yeah,
when I did, was it Rangers? No, it was Power Morphicon last year. I ran into him in the hallway and I gave him like some of my art cards and talked to him for a minute or two. He was nice. It didn't turn into anything. We had like a little
yeah.
conversation and actually the gentleman, Jason Narvey, who plays Skull, came over and he was like, "What are you doing? We got to get some coffee." He's like, "You go and get the coffee. I'm talking to this guy." Like they had a little moment.
Oh, I think you remember telling
Yeah,
me that.
so that was really fun, and I do like him a lot. That's one of those things where like that was so perfect and organic that while
Yeah.
I want a
That.
pic, like I almost don't want to meet him again because it could only go bad, like.
Yeah, I think I remember you telling me this. It was after the breakfast, right?
Yes, it was after the breakfast, so I had
Yeah.
a better encounter
Okay.
after the breakfast than at the actual breakfast.
Yeah.
But he would be high on my list had I not met him, and also were he not so readily available, because he's going to be at Ranger Stop, so I'll have an opportunity there. So again, I'm thinking in terms of who would I never get to meet, and that's who popped into my
Yeah.
head. But no, I do like him a lot and was happy to meet him. And if I had a chance, if I'm at Ranger Stop and I have a chance to get some pictures or handshakes or whatever, I'm gonna take him wherever I could get him. I said Ranger
Yeah.
Stop. I meant to say Power Morphicon Express. When I did Ranger Stop, I was stuck at my table most of the time. I didn't have you with me, so I had very
Yeah.
little chance to get around. But a lot of the Rangers came by and said hello, gave me a hand because I had pictures of them, like including the oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm blanking on his name, but Lightspeed Red came by, saw a
Oh,
picture.
yep.
It's Carter
I,
Grayson,
I,
but that's not his name.
I know. That's how I remember.
I know his name too. I'm just blanking. But he came by and was really cool, and he stood with me and took a picture at my booth, and
Yeah.
so I've had a lot of really great interactions because of my artwork with the Rangers. So when I have that sort of interaction, it makes me like reluctant to want to go be at their table and because I've already so. That
Yeah.
being said, I still did take a few pictures here and there, and I'm not above it. I'm still a
Yeah.
fanboy.
What I will say though is, with your new bulk print, you have another reason to try to do that again.
That is true. Well, and what I will probably do is any Ranger actor that wants a piece of art that I have of them or their characters, I try to give it to them for free. And if
Yeah.
they decide they want to give me an autograph or a photo or a handshake, I'm happy to take it, but there's no expectation. I'm just like, hey, here's
Exactly.
And I
Yep.
do have now a bulk print and a Hyperforce yellow print. But so we're coming up on an hour and a half ish. So let's do one more topic or question and then wrap it up. If I think we've been hitting chat pretty good, so we're pretty caught up.
hmm
Is there anything else you could think of that you want to touch upon before we move on?
Um, Not before moving on. I didn't know if you wanted to do it today or a different day, but the picture I sent you,
I
I'll
don't
leave
have
it
that
up to you.
picture.
Okay, then we'll do it a different day.
Okay, yeah, you had said that, and I'm like, I don't know what happened to that. So.
I could resend it. It's all good.
Okay.
To
But
be continued.
to be continued. Well, we'll probably and next week I believe they're having a new episode, so we'll be back as normal doing Beast Morphers episode 4, and then in between, assuming we're available, we'll probably do these little chat and sit and chats and Q&A, whatever you want to call it. Ask me anything. Random
Yeah.
Ranger. This is a real Ranger rambling here.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah, with that, I guess we could wrap it up. We don't want to go too long. And thanks for everybody who was in chat and gave us some things to go on. Thanks
Yeah,
for
much
everybody.
appreciated.
Thanks for the shares. I've got a new follow. I appreciate that. We normally do this every Monday. The show usually airs Saturday. We do it Monday, and I rebroadcast on YouTube on Tuesday. So if you miss it live, you can see it there. And if you're watching on YouTube, hello, thank you. Leave a comment. And on wherever you're seeing it, feel free to leave questions or comments in the chat or the comment section, because we will occasionally check those out to give us things to talk about for the next show. Even with the Beast Morphers live show, we do a little bit of chatting in between as well.
Yeah, what I will say to kind of continue on with you is, if obviously this is the first time for this season that we haven't had a new episode to talk about for our show. So if there is something you like that we talked about, or a topic you want us to talk about again, as Gaz said, leave comments, let us know, and we're more than happy to do stuff like this in the future if the similar situation arises.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have no problem talking about Power Rangers.
Clearly, we're prop ready as well.
Yeah, let me check, Dolly. Thank you. There's a conversation. Well, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Dolly. Thanks for stopping by. And with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and hit the opening credits again, and then we'll end the stream. So thanks again to everybody watching it live, watching it Memorex, watching it whatever, and may the power protect you.
Get that grid going.